a very warm welcome to our special presentation, Question Hour from the Parliament House Complex, the show where we bring you important unstart questions asked by the members of the Upper House during the historic 250th session of the Rajya Sabha and the response given by the government. I'm Kriti Mishra and joining me is my colleague Rajat Kain. So Rajat, let's take our viewers through important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. And the first question that we've picked up in this edition of Question Hour is from member Prabhakar Reddy, Vemi Reddy, and this one is to the Department of Atomic Energy. And Mr. Reddy has asked the government whether it has signed a contract with Kazakhstan for supply of 5,000 tons of uranium for India's nuclear power plants.
Well, the ministry replied in affirmative and said a contract was signed with Messrs JSC, NAC, Kazantumprom, Kazakhstan on 8 July 2015 for procurement of 5,000 megatons of uranium ore concentrate UOC spread over a period of 5 years during 2015 to 2019 at an indicative total cost of rupees 3,156 crore with an option to procure additional 500 megatons of UOC per year for 4 years starting from 2016 to 2019 on mutually acceptable terms. Answering further, the ministry said as per the contract with Messrs JSC, NSC, Kazatomprom, the balance quantity of 1,500 megatons unit is scheduled to reach India in December 2019. Moving on, the next question was asked by member TJ Venkatesh and he sought Ministry of Women and Child Development that whether government has initiated any capacity building interface for protection and empowerment of women at the block level under Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme.
In a comprehensive reply given by the government goes on to say that Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme under the Ministry of Women and Child Development was approved in November 2017 as a centrally sponsored scheme to empower rural women through community participation. Under the scheme, capacity building of women collectives is envisaged in not more than 50% of the MSK blocks in 115 aspirational districts identified by the Niti Aayog to address the livelihood needs of women, particularly in remote and also vulnerable areas where women are not in a position to move out from their home and immediate surroundings for formal skill training. The component to be implemented is in collaboration with the NGOs, cooperative societies, Krishi Vigyan Kendras. The government further goes on to say that Ministry of Women and Child Development has released funds which is the part of central share for 3 aspirational districts in Andhra Pradesh and also a total number of 24 blocks and 8 blocks at the rate of per aspirational district were identified by the government of Andhra Pradesh. Let's move on to the next question that has been asked by member Kehkasha Parveen and this one is to the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. And the member has asked the government whether it has developed any mechanism to monitor the schemes that are being implemented for scheduled tribes in the country.
Well, replying to the question, the Ministry of Tribal Affairs said that it has developed online portals for management and monitoring of its schemes related to NGO, grants, scholarship, forest right acts and tribal research institutes. Through direct benefit transfer or the DBT management information system of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs with its website is monitoring benefit transfer to scheduled tribe beneficiaries in the following schemes. Post-matric scholarship schemes for ST students, pre-matric scholarship schemes for ST students, top-class education for ST students, national fellowship for ST students, national overseas scholarship scheme, scheme of grant in aid to voluntary organization working for the welfare of scheduled tribes, schemes of development of particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and lastly, the institutional support for development and marketing of tribal product. The next question was asked by Minister Mahesh Podda to Ministry of Planning and he sought to know the status of implementation of National Strategy on Artificial Intelligence by Niti Aayog.
In the response, the government says that the Niti Aayog, after extensive consultation with ministries and leading academicians in the country, also institutions, practitioners and industry players had released India's National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence for the country in June 2018. The strategy outlined proposed efforts in research, development, adoption and skilling in artificial intelligence. The major recommendations of strategy include setting up of centers of research excellence focused on fundamental research and international centers on transformational AI focused on applied research. The AI vertical of National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems Program of Department of Science and Technology will be implemented as per the recommendations of the NSCI. The details of the implementation mechanism for the NSI are being finalized. The government further says that Niti Aayog has collaborated with several countries or entities for knowledge sharing in artificial intelligence like Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan, and also Technological University of Singapore, and also with Government of Australia. Let's move on to the next question that has been asked by member Majid Memon, and this one is to the Ministry of Law and Justice. And the member has asked the government whether it is a fact that according to India Justice Report of 2019, several states and UTs were found to have no women judges in their High Court benches.
Well, in its reply, the ministry said appointments of judges of the High Court is made under Article 217 of the Constitution of India. This article doesn't provide for reservation for any caste or class of person or women. Government has, however, requested the Chief Justice of High Courts that while sending proposals for appointment of judges, due consideration be given to suitable candidates belonging to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward caste, women and minorities. Information on women judges and subordinate judiciary is not centrally maintained as the subject matter falls within the domain of high courts and the state government. State governments provides expenditure for creating infrastructure, facilities and necessary funds for running of high courts and subordinate judiciary. However, central government has been implementing a centrally sponsored scheme for development of infrastructure facilities for judiciary from 1993 and 94. Financial assistance is provided to state governments and union territories for construction of court buildings and residential units of judicial officers of districts and subordinate courts. A sum of rupees 7,453.10 crore has been sanctioned since the inception of the scheme, of which 4,008.80 crore has been sanctioned since the year 2014-15, which is around 54% of total release under the scheme. Well, the next question was asked by member Devendra Paul Watts, and he sought to know from Ministry of Human Resource Development whether government has identified some educationally backward districts across the country.
The reply given by the government is in affirmative, and the government goes on to say that an expert committee constituted by University Grants Commission had identified 374 educationally backward districts. Their gross enrollment ratio in higher education was less than the national average according to the 2001 census data. Education being in the concurrent list, creation of new institutions and enhancing the quality of education is both the responsibility of the state government as well as the central government and the UTs. However, recognizing the need for central assistance, the central government has implemented various schemes supporting the state governments. In 2010, a scheme for providing financial assistance to new model degree colleges in educationally backward districts was launched to increase access to higher education in these areas. The scheme was later subsumed under the subsequently launched centrally sponsored scheme of Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, which is aimed at correcting regional imbalances in access to higher education, especially in unserved and underserved areas, by setting up quality higher educational institutions and upgrading the existing ones. Apart from setting up model degree colleges, the scheme has also supported educationally backward districts under various other components of the scheme, such as infrastructure grants to colleges and universities, equity initiatives, enhancing excellence and quality in select universities. So, Rajat, these were the important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. But on the other side, we'll have Prashnakal in Hindi with our colleagues Arvind Singh and Kriti Singh. Please don't go anywhere.
Thanks for watching the edition of this show.